Hi everyone, Stacy Whiter here on behalf of Campus Mortgage with the third part of a three-part series refresher on Regulation B, ECOA. Now just a quick reminder before we get started, this video is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal advice or used in place of Regulation B guidelines. Also, this video was created on May 22nd, 2017, and the information contained in this video is subject to change without notice. So now let's take a look at important notifications that are required as part of Regulation B. Notice of action taken. So a notice of action taken must be provided by the creditor to the applicant within 30 days of receiving a completed application. Now, a notice of incomplete application is required and it must be provided to the borrower in writing if the creditor did not receive a complete application. So in this notice, they would need to let the applicant know what information was needed to consider the application and should also give the applicant reasonable time to furnish the information. Also, this information must be provided to the applicant in writing within 30 days of the application and contain the following information: name and address of the creditor, the nature of the action taken, the ECOA notice, which includes the identity of the federal agency responsible for enforcing compliance with the act for that creditor, a specific reason for the action taken. So whatever the action they're taking, if they're declining it or if they're suspending it or whatever it is, that has to be spelled out in the notice and it has to be disclosed to the applicant, and they have a right to request the reasons for a denial if that's the response within 60 days of the receipt. It also must include the name, address, and phone number of the person who can provide specific information about the adverse action. Now, the only exception to this, or to the 30 days of providing this information to the applicant, is if the adverse action notice may be sent 90 days after making a counteroffer, unless the applicant accepts or uses the credit during that time. Now, adverse action notice for applicants. Now, this is when it's the loan or the credit application is submitted through a third party. So if you're a lender that receives applications from a broker, this is how it would apply. So when more than one creditor is involved in a transaction, an adverse action is taken with respect to the application for the credit by all creditors involved. Each creditor that took such action must provide a notice of action taken. So very important there. Now, the notification may be given by the third party, but the notice must disclose and identify the creditor on whose behalf the notice is given. So if a broker is giving the application to a lender and the lender is sending out the adverse action notice, in that notice they would need to identify that broker. So it's very important as part of the notification. So now let's take a look at appraisals and other valuations. So creditors must provide a copy for all appraisals and other written valuations to the applicant whenever they're doing a first lien on a home. The delivery must be upon completion or 3 business days prior to consummation of the loan for closed-end credit, or account opening for opened-end credit, whichever is earlier. And the applicant can waive the timing requirement and agree to receive a copy at or before consummation or account opening. But it's important to note that that waiver must be obtained at least 3 business days prior to consummation. And finally, if the applicant provides a waiver and the transaction is not consummated or the account is not opened, the creditor still must provide copies of the valuation or the appraisal within 30 days of the creditor determining the consummation will not occur or that the account will not be opened. Now let's talk about appraisal reimbursement. So the creditor shall not charge an applicant for providing a copy of appraisals. So in other words, they can charge for the appraisal, but they cannot charge the borrower for a copy of the appraisal or any other written valuations. Now again, they may ask them to pay a reasonable fee, but they can't charge them for a copy. Now, there are no exemptions to these rules as far as providing the appraisal. So they're not exempt. Creditors are not exempt from providing the appraisal to the applicant, regardless of if they don't pay a reasonable fee, or if they deny the application, or if the application is withdrawn or incomplete. All right, everyone, that's all for now. That concludes our 3-part video series on ECOA Regulation B refresher. For more tips and videos, please visit campusmortgage.org and look for their weekly mortgage video tips designed for all mortgage professionals, including underwriters, loan officers, processors, closers, and post-closers. Have a great day. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.